Kneel before your queen, demon! Or not.
Being a superhero is extremely challenging, and when the pressure of leading your own people is added to the mix, many heroes crumble. But what do you do when you're in charge of a dimension full of unruly demons? You rise to the occasion, and that's precisely what Magik did. Illyana Rasputin, better known as Magik, is a young mutant portrayed by Anya Taylor-Joy in the movie New Mutants. She is one of the youngest and most powerful mutants in the entire Marvel Universe. With her magical abilities on par with those of Doctor Strange, she is quite the powerhouse. In this video, we will take a deep dive into Magik, learn about her powers, how they work, and just how powerful she is as a whole. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Who is Magik? Is she a demon? Illyana Rasputin is the youngest of 3 siblings. Her older brothers are Pyotr, better known as Colossus, and Mikhail, the cosmonaut. They were born near Lake Baikal in Siberia. Just before Pyotr and Mikhail were recruited by Professor X, Pyotr saved her from a runaway tractor. This memory was something that kept her going, even when she was kidnapped by Miss Locke and her scheme to lure the X-Men into saving Arcade from Dr. Doom. When she was freed, her brother allowed her to stay in the United States because he wanted her to be safe. This is when Professor X touched her head, giving her the ability to speak English. You would think that Illyana had a better life following this, but tragedy seemed to find her wherever she went. At the tender age of 6, she was trying to fit in with the X-Men. She was kidnapped by Belasco. Belasco spirited her way to Limbo, and the X-Men followed. A tug-of-war ensued between Belasco and Kitty Pryde, with Illyana caught in the middle. In the midst of this struggle, for a moment, Kitty Pryde let go of Illyana's hand. Seizing the opportunity, Belasco took Illyana with him and transformed a part of her soul into the Bloodstone, granting her immense power within Limbo. While Belasco claimed to love her, the Bloodstone allowed him to control Illyana, and understandably, she did not want to remain with him, especially with his servant Sim subjecting her to daily beating. While trying to escape, she met Storm and Cat, the alternate versions of Aurora and Kitty Pryde, who were trapped in Limbo. Storm helped her with her magical abilities, while Cat taught her the ways of combat. While keeping these lessons secret, Illyana became a student of Belasco and learned how to use the Limbo and the unlimited power of the Limbo as her energy reserve. While Belasco planned on using Illyana to bring down the Elder Gods, her mutant ability of teleportation discs finally got activated, leading to her finally being strong enough to face Belasco. She had to bury both of her friends to save them from Belasco's torture, and when she faced him, she was able to call upon her Soul Sword, a sword that is made from her life force. Using this, she defeated Belasco and went back to the moment where Kitty let go of her hands. While for Kitty, only a few moments had passed, for Illyana, years had passed, because now she was 13. Owing to her ability to use the powers of her life to bring forth the Soul Sword, Magik has a demonic appearance the more she uses magic. This side of hers is known as Dark Child, and this version looks extremely demonic. Her skin turns red and horns sprout from her forehead when she uses the magic too much. Sometimes we see her with hooves instead of feet, as this demonic version of hers makes her very different from other mutants her age.
Limbo!
How Magik's appearances changes into demonic form. As fans of comics, we often enjoy theorizing that a character has a darker side that leads them to commit questionable deeds, even when it's not canonical. However, in Illyana's case, this isn't just a theory, it's a reality. When she uses her magical powers, her darker self comes closer and closer to the surface. The more power she harnesses, the more her dark self emerges. When she wields her Soul Sword, a magical armor materializes on her body. This armor gradually engulfs her as she taps into her power, serving as a visual representation of her being taken over by her dark side. The more Illyana wields this power, the more overwhelmed and consumed she becomes by her dark side. We witness this phenomenon in the most intense form during the Inferno arc. To provide context, prior to this arc, Illyana had been struggling with the overwhelming influence of her darker side known as Dark Child. In this arc, we see Sim, Illyana's demon lieutenant, forming an alliance with Nastir to gain control of Limbo. When Illyana and her mutant friends arrive in Limbo, Nastir employs his magic to disrupt Illyana's teleportation ability, effectively trapping them there. As they engage in battle, Sim, who possesses enough strength, seizes Illyana's Soul Sword with the intention of decapitating her. In self-defense, her armor grows and Ileana transports the new mutants along with her into the throne room of Belasco. There, her friends learn about her dark past. In this moment of emotional vulnerability, Nastir shows up. Ileana is unaware of Nastir's involvement, and he uses that against her, urging her to completely give in to her dark urges and become the Dark Child. As Dark Child is a mightier version of Ileana, using that side, Ileana was able to fight her way to Earth. But while doing that, Nastir hitched a ride with her, keeping the portal open to rain demons on Earth. This led to more chaos, and as Ileana fought the demons and Nastir off, she was seen by Colossus. Seeing her brother so shocked, Ileana felt embarrassed and transported herself and the New Mutants into Limbo. She realized that she could not keep running away from her responsibilities as the ruler of Limbo and decided to do what needed to be done. While she was transporting, Wolfsbane got on one of the transportation discs and found a young Ileana. Seeing the younger version of herself, Dark Child emerged from her armor, glowing in delight, considering killing the child to solidify her existence in the timeline. But Rain Sinclair mentioned that saving this young Ileana would give the older Ileana some peace. With that in mind, Dark Child stopped the Inferno, opening a huge portal to suck back all the demons into Limbo. She was glowing brightly, and using her soul sword, she destroyed the demons and disappeared, leaving her armor behind. When Colossus realized that his sister was gone, he clutched onto her armor while grieving, only to find a pleasant surprise. Shielded behind the armor was the younger version of Ileana, allowing this version to have a life that was not so riddled with hardships as the older one's was. This young Ileana was sent back to the original Ileana's apartment as she had none of the magic persona left. How Magik used her own life force. The Soul Sword is a magical weapon, seemingly manifested by Ileana out of nothingness while she was trapped in Limbo, thanks to the influence of Belasco. Upon closer examination of its soul sword, it becomes evident that the sword is forged from the life energy of Magik herself. This formidable weapon is primarily employed in combat against magic and sorcery, possessing the unique ability to shatter any spell that its blade strikes, instantly liberating the affected individual. The soul sword almost works on experience. Instead of the bearer being a strong character when it comes to the soul sword, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. When Ileana first brought it out, the blade was very simple, but as we see her adventures unfold, we notice the blade changing. The blade ends up with more intricate designs, and the more designed this is, the stronger the blade becomes. One could interpret the designs of the blade as the marks each of these events left on Ileana, who was only a child while wielding such a magical sword. Unlike most swordsmen, Magik does not carry the soul sword on her in a sheath. Instead, she simply manifests it whenever she is in pickle, which acts as an element of surprise for the enemies. It makes it easier on her given Magik travels between the dimensions. Another key thing to know about the soul sword is that it can only be drawn by the ruler of Limbo. So when Ileana unexpectedly manifested it, she immediately became the ruler of Limbo, making her the most powerful in Limbo. How can she teleport anywhere in the multiverse? Ileana is a mutant with the ability to teleport, but it is not the way we imagine it. When it comes to Ileana, she uses teleportation discs. The discs are part of the alternate dimension called Limbo. This was a dimension that Magik had been aware of since her childhood. To use these discs, Ileana has to call for it mentally. Once a disc is called, Ileana can go wherever she wants, but she has to drop by Limbo first. It is unknown if Ileana goes through Limbo because of her genetic abilities, or if it is because she got taken into Limbo by Belasco when she was only a child. However, with Limbo as a bypass, Ileana is able to travel anywhere she wants, whether it is on a different continent, space, or a different dimension. Opening a portal that is light blue in color, Ileana can simply step in and move in accordingly. Not only that, if someone is present in Limbo, Ileana can bring the person back to Earth without going to Limbo herself, making her an extremely good ferryman in a way. Magik is the sorceress supreme of Limbo dimension. Magik was kidnapped by Belasco when she was 6. While stuck in Limbo, she decided to become Belasco's student just to survive. That led to Belasco teaching her the strings of dark magic. That also led to Magik having easy access to Belasco's entire collection of mystical knowledge. This makes Magik extremely well versed in dark magic. But that is not all. While stuck in Limbo during that time, she met the alternate version of Aurora Monroe, known as Storm. She taught Magik the ways of light magic. This led to Magik being well versed in both types of magic, making her an extremely powerful sorceress. Her sorcery abilities are almost on par with Doctor Strange, and at one point, she was trained by Doctor Strange himself. Now we know that Magik pulled out the soul sword using her life force. This makes her the ruler of Limbo. Being the ruler of Limbo gives Magik some magical powers, and that is why we see Magik reach her true strength when she is in Limbo. Her powers know no bounds when she is in Limbo because of this reason. That is why she is the Sorceress Supreme in Limbo. But this power comes with a curse. If she uses her magic too much, she ends up becoming Darkchild, which is her darker version. Can she control the Limbo dimension and the demons? As the Soul Sword is only drawn out by the ruler of Limbo when Ileana manifested it, whether she liked it or not, she became the ruler of Limbo. This ability to rule a whole dimension is a pretty nifty trick that often acts as an advantage for Ileana. During any fight, if Ileana can teleport her opponents into Limbo, the chances of her winning go up exponentially. But being the ruler of Limbo has its own cons. The main residents of Limbo are demons. These demons do not like Ileana very much because they want the throne for themselves. This leads to Ileana often fighting against rebellious demons, whether it is her Lieutenant Sim or even Dormammu. As she harnesses the power of Limbo during her fights, the more Ileana is able to control the Limbo to her will. This allows her to, at one point, absorb and erase the current Limbo and remake it. While being a world ruler is tough, Ileana shows that being a dimension ruler can be tougher at times. Can she travel through time and space? While most teleporters only teleport from one place to another, Magik is able to teleport through time. While on the surface this might seem like the ultimate power to have up your sleeve, its effect on Magik is far worse than initially expected. It is very hard for Magik to control this particular power of hers. Owing to this uncontrolled power, Magik has almost killed herself by traveling to the wrong point in the timeline of Earth when she was being trained by Doctor Strange. He told her that by honing her skills, she could manipulate time on a wide scale eventually. Is she more powerful than Dormammu? While the heroes in the Marvel Universe do not face off against mystical forces often, the ones they do are extremely strong. Dormammu is someone like that. He is extremely strong and his powers are overwhelming for even Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme on Earth. Because of this reason, when Dormammu decided he wanted to take over the realm of Limbo, it was definitely an arc that fans were looking forward to. In this storyline, Dormammu decided that he wanted the Limbo for himself, and to have that, he was going to defeat Magik, the Queen of Limbo. He teleported Magik and the X-Men to Limbo to fight them with his army of mindless ones. As we know, Dormammu is quite powerful and our heroes did not stand a chance right as Dormammu was about to win. However, the tables turned. That was the point where Magik was pushed enough to have her dark side take over. Darkchild is the darker side of Magik who can easily harness the power of Limbo. Darkchild took all the energy from the dimension of Limbo and defeated Dormammu. This proves that Magik is far more powerful than Dormammu is when she is in her domain. A bigger proof of her power is that she reconstructed a whole dimension of Limbo once she defeated Dormammu. Does she have any love interest? Can she reproduce? In the comics or in the movie, we never see Magik show such interest in sex or romance. Her story has always focused on her struggle with her power and using it for good. Because of this reason, no one was surprised when we could not figure out anything about her sexuality. Well, that held true until the 5th issue of New Mutants. In the 5th issue of New Mutants, we see Ileana go to Shi'ar Imperium to protect Deathbird. The opposite faction leaders are present and almost jokingly she asks if they want to make out with her. The reactions are hilarious because one of them is amused, one is bewildered, and the last one confesses that she wants to make out with Ileana, but she is busy working. This leads to Ileana moving on, and she mentions that the aliens had a choice between making out with her and fighting, and they chose poorly. With this panel, the fans learned about Magik's pansexuality, which makes sense as the demons whom Ileana grew up with do not necessarily follow the beauty standards of us humans. While on Earth 616, Ileana does not have a child. On Earth 2937, she has a son called Hutch. Hutch was born between dimensions and he was a corporal being. Ileana wants to see her son have a physical form and she made a deal with Mephisto. With the whole mutants being wiped out, Hutch would have a physical form. While Ileana is okay with it, Hutch refuses the physical body and returns to being corporal, where he learns about the sacrifice. Ileana was sad, but she was proud of her son for doing the right thing even though it was hard. Is she immortal? Despite being such a powerhouse of a character, we see an untimely death of Illyana Rasputin in the 3rd issue of Uncanny X-Men. She did not have her brother by her side when she succumbed to the legacy virus that she contracted from the madman called Strife. But before the fans could process this grief, a few years later in the Truth or Dare issue of New Mutants, we learned the real reason for her death. Turns out using her teleportation discs, The New Mutants traveled through time and saw Magik's faith. This understandably shook her to her core, and that drove her anxious. When she met her older brother Mikhail, who promised a cure, Magik believed him, but actually Mikhail was using Magik for his own selfish agendas. He wanted to find a cure for the legacy virus as he was affected by it himself, and using Magik as a guinea pig, he did tests on her and recreated them on him. His plan failed, and he ended up dooming his sister because by the end of the experiment, Illyana was a child again. But this time, she was carrying the legacy virus in her without her mutant abilities, even developing, dooming her to her untimely death down the line, making her death one of the saddest deaths in the X-Men universe.
Yield before your queen, demon! Or not.
Marvel's verdict. Illyana was one of the more symbolic characters in the X-Men universe. She has returned to her child self once as a living symbol of a stolen innocence. She is one of the strongest and yet innocent characters in the X-Men universe. With Anya Taylor-Joy portraying her in the movie, Magik has been catapulted into popularity since 2020. We are hopeful we will be able to see more shenanigans of Illyana in the future issues of New Mutants, giving us more moments with such an amazing superhero. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.